Good morning and welcome to Urban Edge. My name is... All right, I think... There we go. Thank you, everyone. My name is Emilio Dorsley. I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Urban Edge. And welcome to our offices. And I know many of you know that you are where Boston's Latin Quarter meets the historic African-American neighborhood at the crossroads of Jamaica Plain and Roxbury in Jackson Square. This is an important aspect of the work that Urban Edge does. We know that our constituency group is our African-American and Latino communities that are going through issues of gentrification and displacement. And we work hard through our affordable housing and our community work to make sure that everyone can continue to enjoy in the prosperity that Boston is experiencing. But equally important, we are honored to host Mayor Marty Walsh and the city for the very important funding announcements that we're all here today for. One of the things that I am especially proud of when I welcome the mayor and the Department of Neighborhood Development and the other organizations who are here from the funding announcements is that the mayor has made developing affordable housing a priority in his administration, especially for communities like Roxbury and Jamaica Plain that really need it. Again, thank you, Mayor Walsh, and thank you to the hardworking folks in your administration who have partnered with organizations like Urban Edge to help us build and maintain high-quality, affordable housing. You can see the fruits of these labors just a few blocks from here in Jackson Square. After decades with little investment, we are now in the process with a number of partners of building over 1,600 units within the next couple years. And we believe that's going to really have a deep impact in this neighborhood and to the community at whole. Our most recent project, 1599 Columbus, which is right down the block, where we're going to take a once vacant and underutilized site and turn it into 65 units of affordable housing. This opportunity to acquire this vacant site came through the city's Vacant Land Acquisition Fund. And we want to thank the City of Boston, especially Sheila Dillon and her staff, and their partners at LIST, Boston, CDAC, as well to home funders for making this project possible. So again, thank you again for coming. I want to especially thank the Urban Edge board members who are here and our staff, but also want to thank our elected officials who, without their help, none of this would be possible. So with that, I'd like to introduce Sheila Dillon, who's going to MC this morning's event. Thank you.
Thank you. This is fabulous, great crowd. Thank you, Emilio. And we're so glad that you've joined the Urban Edge team. You know, I was thinking about, excuse me, I was thinking about Urban Edge this morning, and Urban Edge is really good with doing developments. They're really, really talented. You have a good development staff, but you're even better at caring about the families that live in your developments. You have a response team on evictions. You're making sure families get what they need to succeed. So great, great, great work. So, So I'm joined here with many colleagues from City Hall today. Emma Handy, our CFO, Emily Shea from the Age Strong, and Kate Bennett from the BHA. And state colleagues, Jennifer Maddock and Crystal Cornegie was here a few minutes ago, and people from CDAC and MHP Fund, and many, many state agencies, because now we've got to all move these projects forward. But I'm emceeing, and so we got a lot of projects, and we're going to give out a lot of money today, so I got to move this along. So the first person I'm introducing is our mayor, and for the vast majority of you in this room, your housing is your passion. It's what you do when you wake up in the morning. You think about your families, or maybe you think about housing first and then your families. But for folks that are following this closely, this administration is working really hard on trying to solve our housing issues. And just lately, in addition to making sure that we're on track with our housing plans and getting the results that we said we would, the mayor, in his State of the City speech, pledged to double, at least double, our funding for affordable housing. Launched the first city's voucher program, and certainly working really hard with our city council on moving pieces of legislation forward, including the transfer tax and a lot of tenant protections. That work is ongoing right now, so we need your help. So we've been very, very busy, and with that, I want to bring up Mayor Walsh.
Thank you, Sheila. Today is an exciting day, and I want to thank everyone in this room because it goes back a bunch of years. If you didn't advocate and we didn't advocate collectively together for CPA and to change the law and have a press conference not too far from this building where we talked about, we brought business leaders out. If we didn't win that fight, we're not celebrating today the amount of money that's being given out for all your hard work and from the taxpayers of Boston. So thank you all, everyone in this room, for that. I want to thank Urban Edge, Emilio, and the board members as well. You're an incredible partner in the city of Boston, and I've known Urban Edge now personally, working with them since 2011 when I took over the building trades, and we built the building across the street, and that was one of the projects I was responsible for working on, and had a chance to see firsthand the work that they've done. I wasn't a state rep in this neighborhood. I was a state rep on the other side in Dorchester, so we didn't work a lot there, but I worked with the CDCs, Carbon Square, and Fields Corner, and Dorchester Bay, and Viet Aid, and all those organizations. So I want to thank you for your work. To the elected officials, Lydia Edwards, who's going to speak in a few minutes, and what she's basically, before she was, and she has her own story, but before she was a city councilor, I mean, this was one of her passions, housing, and fighting for tenants' rights and people's rights. And I want to thank Councilor Edwards for her incredible work here. Councilor Matt O'Malley, who has been doing housing for a long time, represents the neighborhood and has done so much on housing in his own right, including making sure that the new housing we're building is clean and green, and that our young people grow up in an environment that's really safe for them. And I want to thank Councilor O'Malley for his great work. When CPA was brought up the first time, Michael Flaherty was one of the people pushing that way back when, and when we had it a couple of years ago, Michael came and explained to me where we thought that why we lost back then, and how do we do it better, and we listened to what Michael had, the institutional knowledge that he had, and I want to thank Michael as well for his great work. Our new city councilor, who's new as a city councilor, but housing's her passion. She worked for the Boston Housing Authority and was an amazing advocate there and champion, and is going to be an amazing champion advocate for housing in the city of Boston. Kenzie Bach. I want to thank Kenzie Bach. There's a state rep here that in 1999, I actually think before she was a state rep, I was in my office and as a state rep, and Kevin Fitzgerald was in my office with me, and Liz was involved in housing with John McDonough, and then she got elected and was involved in housing. And a group of advocates came into my office. I was a fairly new state representative, and I liked arguing and fighting, and I would take everything to the floor. And they came in with this idea called the RAFT program. And they came to me and they said, we want you to file this piece of legislation, and really what it is, it's about housing, but connecting people that don't have the means to put down first and last and don't have the means to buy furniture. And so I filed the first RAFT bill, and it didn't go anywhere. And I filed the second RAFT bill, and then finally Ruth Balzer, I think, filed the third RAFT bill, and she got it passed. And I'm like, what's up with that? But Liz Malia has spent her entire career, whether it's been working as assistant, an administrative assistant at the State House, and now as a state representative. I know the fight she does. I stood with her and fought with her side by side for housing every single time there's a session. And Liz is the person that when the answer is no, she goes around the circle, around the block, and comes back and goes back down to the well of the house and to put that fight on. I want to thank Liz Maya for being here with us today. I want to thank the Community Preservation Committee. I want to thank Christine and her team. And Magdalene's going to talk in a few minutes. I want to thank you. The Neighborhood Housing Trust, thank you. Jerome Williams is going to speak a little bit. Thank you. This is, God bless you. Let me just say this. You know, there's been a lot of challenges in housing over the probably last 30 years, honestly. And it seems to have intensified over the last 4 or 5 years. And as I look out the crowd here, there's faces that you've been doing this fight for a long time. And I don't think enough of you and us take a step back to celebrate the victories sometimes. And today's a victory. And today's a day that it really, I thank a lot of people in this room, but it's anyone in this room that has been working in this space for a long time. When you go home tonight, as Sheila said, when you think about it, be happy. Be happy today. Now, tomorrow we're going to have another fight. We'll be up tomorrow. We'll be at it again. But be happy today, because the impact that's being made in people's lives today is something that we might not know who they are. We might never meet them, but we know they're on a list somewhere, and we know they have housing, and we know that they're in tough situations. Just be grateful for the work you do. Or let me put it this way. I'm grateful for the work you do. So I want to thank all of the activists here today. And an activist is that little baby sleeping in the front row. Somebody who's here today who's impacting. An activist is somebody who does activism for a living. You work for it's a good word. So I wanted to say that activism is a good word. An activist is a good word. So thank you for that. Today, I think Sheila mentioned this, and it was already mentioned, we're announcing $69 million in affordable housing in the city. It's going to preserve over 1,100 units of housing. We fund affordable housing every year, but this is the most we've ever done in the city of Boston's history. Think about that for a minute. That's why you should celebrate. And all of this is even before the $500 million investment that we plan on making in housing over the coming years here, over the next 5 years. And the sources that we're looking at continue to grow. The sources come from 3 major areas that we're talking about money. Department of Neighborhood Development, linkage fees through the Neighborhood Housing Trust, the Community Preservation Act, with Community Preservation Committee. We're recommending that the City Council, $24 million of projects, 65% going to affordable housing. The other day we had an announcement in East Boston with the governor and some of the funds that the state has. So it truly is about getting these funds into our communities and into our neighborhoods. What's happening here today is the growth of the city, and I'm getting a lot of criticism about some of the growth, which is fine. But the growth of our city is also the economic strength of our city, which allows us to invest in projects and create this number today. If we didn't have what was going on in the city of Boston with growth, we don't have the celebration of the 1,100 units. Whether growth is happening or not, the need is going to be there still. So when you think about how do you capitalize on that growth, this is how we're capitalizing on that growth. And we're going to continue to make sure we continue to build a strong middle class, or give people an opportunity to get into the middle class. And that's something that we have to do, because the middle class is going like this. Middle's disappearing. The funding is going to go to affordable housing projects all across the city, from Hyde Park to Eastie to Charlestown to Brighton to right here in JP. It's going to bring home ownership and rental opportunities. It's going to, obviously we know this, going to help working families. It's going to help young people aging out of foster care. It's going to help formerly homeless individuals, seniors who want to stay in their community, and people who want to call Boston their home. Housing, there's no question about it, is the biggest economic challenge that residents face. 10, 15 years ago, housing was on the list. Might not have been the biggest challenge. fast forward 10 years in a very short period of time, it's the biggest challenge people face. As our city continues to grow, the demand grows. And that's something for housing. People want to move here. That wasn't necessarily always the case in the 80s. Anyone who's been fighting this fight for a long time, in the 80s, people were going out. They were leaving. So the people that left in the 80s, the baby boomers, want to move back to the city of Boston. There's probably some of you in this room. The young people that live in the city and grown up in the city, they want to stay in the city. And the folks that come to college to this city all of a sudden say, well, we want to stay in Boston, where before they were going to New York and California and other places, they want to live here. And we also have immigrants coming from other countries here. 28% of our population in Boston, 28% of our population in Boston, they were not born here in the United States of America. Think about that for a minute. So we also have other people wanting to be in our city, and that's a good thing. But to keep up with the demands, we need to continue to work together. And we need to look at the whole spectrum of housing needs in our city. In 2014, as soon as I came in here, I sat with Sheila Dillon, and the first thing I do is I asked Sheila Dillon to stay. The second thing I asked Sheila is, how's our housing plan? She goes, well, we got one. I said, how deep is it? She goes, you know, it's there. And really, when you think about what happened in the city, what happened was the growth of our city in the last 10 years happened so quickly, we didn't really have a plan to figure out all the people coming to our city, where they're going to live. And our neighborhoods have seen that squeeze. And you know, we talk a lot about the squeeze in Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, but go back 20 years, that squeeze was in Southie. That squeeze was in Charlestown. That squeeze was in neighborhoods that those folks that live there aren't there anymore. Their families, they sold, and that squeeze is going all over the city. So it's not just one area of the city, it was all over the place. So we came up with a housing plan to create, it started with 53,000, but we're now 69,000 units of new housing all across all income levels by the year 2030, including 16,000 affordable units. Since the plan launched, 33,000 new units have been permitted, over 6,300 are affordable. Some have been built and some are permitted, so they're going through this process. Last year, a quarter of our new homes were subsidized affordable homes. There is no question that progress is being made. And we're seeing some stabilization in rents. In saying that, but prices are still too high for too many people that can't afford that, what I just said. This $69 million is going to help house thousands of people, and we're just going to continue to move forward. As I said, in the state of the city, I talked about a 5-year investment of $500 million across different affordable ranges. We're going to keep growing affordable housing tools that we use. We're going to continue to work with the city council, myself, we're going to continue to work together, and we're going to be working with the state legislature. The city council passed the transfer tax last year. We got up to the State House, and we're working on that. That's an important piece. If the housing, the $500 million, just so you know, and I'm doing a little lobbying here, $100 million is coming from city budget, so we're putting that money in. That's $400 million left. We're going to be selling a garage. That's going to probably net us, I don't want to say what's going to net us because we don't want to bring the value of that too low or too high, but a good chunk of money. Over $100 million. That leaves us $300 million. The next is the transfer tax. If the transfer tax doesn't happen, we have $200 million. We need $500 million. So we need that transfer tax to pass. That is a tax that the only person who's going to be responsible for raising taxes in the city of Boston who can be asked about it or saying who did it, it's the city council and the mayor. This is not being raised by the legislature. It's giving us the tools. It's giving Boston the tools to be able to do this. It's that simple. And that's what we want to do. We want the tools. It doesn't say we're going to go to 2%. All it's going to say is we're going to do something. Because a lot of the folks and the criticism of this tax by some people in the communities, the development community, saying it's too much. Well, to be quite honest with you, we've been good. And people have done well in the last 6 years. And we're asking for a little bit back. Just a little bit. We're not asking for 98% back. We're asking for up to 2% back. And what we're gonna do with that up to 2% back is gonna be amazing investments into housing in the city of Boston. Because our councilors that are here and the other one, they hear it every day. Wherever Lydia Edwards goes, she hears about housing, because she calls me and tells me. Wherever Matt O'Malley goes, he hears about it. Michael and Liz and Kenzie and every other councilor and myself. So that's, I'm kind of going off track here, but we need to, we need this because there is a big gap in funding. And that big gap in funding is in the federal government. We don't have it, and I haven't talked about the Boston Housing Authority yet, but if you go by our buildings and look at our buildings where our residents live, almost every single one of them needs to be remodeled, renovated, or rebuilt. And we also, that's what the garage money is going towards. Towards making sure that our people who live in public housing have the opportunity to live with pride and dignity in our city. We have, and I'm proud to say this, we have one of the most progressive housing policies in America. I'm also excited to share that we're starting with a working group on the brokerage fees in the city of Boston to help increase access to housing and remove significant barriers. Everything is on the table. Every conversation's on the table. Everything's on the table. There's not one solution that works. If we do this working group and we're going to do it, and we find that the brokerage fees are a problem, we're going to deal with it. We're talking about rent. We're talking about rent control. Rent control is not this silver lining to fixing it, but we need to have the conversation about it to see, is there an opportunity? Because the issue comes down to a supply and demand. It comes down to creating more housing, more units of housing. And there are tools that we should be exploring all across the board. We should be looking at all our tools. And we also want to continue to grow our city. So as we do this, I look forward to working with all of our friends in the advocacy community, particularly around the brokerage fees in the city of Boston. This morning I had a cabinet meeting, and I brought this up. And I had 3 cabinet people, including the superintendent of schools, saying that she found an apartment for herself in Roxbury, and she found the apartment, and she was paying a fee for that apartment. So we're going to have those dialogues and those conversations as we move forward. I want to end with this. I want to thank all of our partners for making these projects that we're talking about today possible. The funding is going to help ensure that more residents have an affordable, stable, and safe place to call home. We couldn't do it, this work, without the organizations that are being awarded today with the CPA funds. All we can do, myself and the council and the State House and the governor, is advocate to get more money into the system to build. You are the ones that are putting the brick and mortar, the shovels in the ground, and the curtains on the window. You're the ones that do this. So I want to say I'm so proud of all of you for the advocacy and the work that you've done. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for helping us show that here in Boston, housing is more than a commodity. It's all of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's hard to work for someone who has the command of all those details sometimes, but okay. Next, I want to ask Councilor Lydia Edwards to say a few words. She's wearing 2 hats today. She is the chair of the Housing Committee for the Boston City Council, and she's also the City Council rep on the Neighborhood Housing Trust. And if I could, I want to echo the mayor. I want to thank the Neighborhood Housing Trust. They evaluate projects because they really want good, affordable housing projects, but they really have a very unique lens in a way they look at the projects. They want projects that are going to benefit neighborhoods as well. So thank you to the Neighborhood Housing Trust. Come up, please.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come and talk about and to celebrate today some very good things. I have the honor, the distinct pleasure to represent District 1, which includes Charlestown, East Boston, and the North End. And for many people, it's ground zero for the housing crisis. In one sense, we do have the largest housing development in New England, in Charlestown, but we also have the largest private housing opportunity in the history of Boston in Suffolk Downs. And so these conversations today, when we're talking about how the city, how all hands on deck are coming together to make housing a real opportunity. I look at this and I'm inspired and I'm excited, and I know that we're going to be able to accomplish big things, not just in my district, not just in the city, but also around the state. So I am very excited today to be here. I want to thank a couple people before I forget. I want to thank our council president, Kim Janey, who, one, reappointed me to the Housing Trust, and two, was the co-author with me for the transfer fee, that we worked together to get our colleagues on board, and then we're able to deliver, I thought, a balanced fee to the mayor's office that we have now delivered to the State House. So I wanted to bring her into this room. I want to thank Chairwoman Catherine Hardaway, who's been ahead of the Neighborhood Housing Trust. She is, I believe, born and raised in Boston and from Dudley, and she has been a wonderful leader of the Neighborhood Housing Trust. And to the other trustees who represent many different organizations and many different individuals we are completely dedicated to making sure that not only are projects affordable, but we ask the hard questions. Who's going to live there? Why would they want to come there? Where are your homeless set-aside units? It's just not enough to call it affordable. We get into the details of who will afford it. Where are your families going to be? How does this design work? Will you attract those? And those are really tough questions that we have. And we put the developers through the ringer when they come to us, because we really believe we are trustees. We really believe that we are trustees of the funds that are coming in. So I'm very excited to be that. And I have to thank D&D and the work that you guys do as working with us in the Neighborhood Housing Trust. I know we drive you nuts. But they take our minutes, they make sure that we stay on ball, and they do an extremely good job with us. I also wanted to thank the mayor for your leadership and your partnership. We have gone all around, back and forth and up and down. But it's because, one, we trust each other, so we don't bother with niceties outside of the public. No, that's not true. It's because we're direct with each other. We're direct with each other, but our hearts are in the right place, and we truly do want the same thing. So, he'll push, I'll push, and we'll get there. I have to say some of the best parts of being a city councilor are my colleagues. Councilor Matt O'Malley, working with him, I think he may have gone, but he has been one of stalwart leaders and pushers for making sure that we are green in every decision that we make, and making sure green is equitable to the folks all throughout the city of Boston. I want to thank my newest colleague on the city council, but colleague before when we worked at the city of Boston, Kenzie Bach. She has been an amazing stalwart and pusher for making sure that I think literally when you were campaigning, Kenzie, you said, I want to make sure that this is still a home for poor people. That poor people can look at Boston and think, I can start there, and I can grow there, and I can stay there. So thank you so much for your leadership before and after the city, and now in the city council. And to our longest-serving city councilor, there you are, Councilor Flaherty, I want to thank you so much for your leadership, especially with CPA. You were there at the very beginning. You're there now bringing back the conversation for pilot money, because that's still on the table. You are a huge leader and a mentor for many of us on the city council, and I want to thank you so much for doing all that. But we have a lot to celebrate. Our State House colleagues as well. I want to thank you so much, Representative Malia. You have your own transfer fee, and also are part of that transfer fee network to push that conversation, and would not be happening but for you. So maybe you'll have more luck than Representative Marty Walsh did with his what was it? Yeah, with the raft. But hopefully you'll be able to get it done. And I want to thank you also for the leadership, not only on transfer fee at the State House, but also on the Homes Act, and also on the right to purchase. There are a lot of things that are happening with our State House partners, and I want to thank you so much for being in the fight constantly. Today is a day to celebrate. Today is a day to pause, to think, yes, the struggle is real. Yes, it continues. And yes, it's raining outside, but we're going to make it rain in here too. So we should smile. I'm glad you laughed at that. I really wanted, really going to laugh a little bit. Because we need to have some sort of levity every now and then to think about all of the things that we've had to do to get here, but also to be inspired that it took all of this, and we have so much more to do and so much further to go. We're fighting for a Boston where folks can be born here, or come here for school, or come here for work like I did, and stay here. That's the Boston we're fighting for. That even if in your life you have different things happen, someone has died, you will get divorced, if some sort of thing happens to you, you'll be able to pick yourself up and move on and stay in Boston and grow. That's the Boston we're fighting for. That's the Boston that all these amazing partners, whether you're in a CDC, whether you're an activist, whether you're in a nonprofit, whatever you are, you were there and you're part of this conversation. It's your leadership that helped us get here. So I've gone on more than I wanted to. I want to just say so incredibly from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. The struggle continues. We'll be in it, and I know you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you. I'm going to move this along. So next, I want to invite up Madeline Tina to say a few words. Madeline is representing the City of Boston's Community Preservation Committee. So, is Madeline? Yes, great, wonderful. Come on up. Thanks so much.
Baby shark right here. My son's baby shark, y'all. Good morning, friends. I'm a little nervous. There's a lot of people here, but good morning, buenos dias. It's exciting to be here celebrating the work of the mayor, the Department of Neighborhood Development, and our Community Preservation Committee to bring more affordable housing to Boston. We all know how much this is needed. And I'll just say this in Spanish so my mom knows what's going on here. Es emocionante estar aquí celebrando el trabajo del alcalde de Boston, del Departamento de Desarrollo y de nuestro Comité de Preservación Comunitaria para, para incrementar la vivienda asequible en nuestra comunidad. My name is Madeline Tina, and I serve on the Community Preservation Committee as an at-large member chosen for my housing experience and work. Participating on the committee, working to invest funds and create more affordable housing is close to my heart and experience. As a young adult, I was homeless a few years ago, and thank God my circumstances changed, and I was able to participate in Boston Home Center's first-time homebuyer classes, as well as Maha's homebuyer classes. Woohoo for Maha. They do great work. And thanks to all that wonderful education and information that I received, my husband and I own a triple-decker in Fields Corner, where we live with our 2 children, yeah. I want every struggling individual and family in Boston to have the same opportunity that I had. A stable, secure home, whether that you own or you rent. And if you do own, please make sure you have affordable units for your tenants. Last fall, the Community Preservation Committee received 125 eligible applications for funding to create affordable housing, preserve historic buildings, and to renovate and build parks and playgrounds. Our committee takes its task seriously to recommend the best and most needed projects to the mayor and to the city council for funding. We read every application amounting to hundreds of pages and seek assistance from the mayor's housing team who work tirelessly to address the need for more affordable homes in our neighborhoods. And we rely on the city's 2030 housing goals to guide our work. I'm thrilled to share that our 2020 project recommendations include close to $16 million for affordable housing. That's, yes. That's 65% of CPA funds available this year. 65%. That means 515 more affordable rental or home ownership units will be created. There are homeless units for individuals and families, apartments for seniors to help them age strong, buildings in underserved neighborhoods such as Roxbury and in West Roxbury also, where there's only 3% of the housing is affordable. Funded projects are for a range of incomes, from the lowest at 30% area median income to homes for working families, the backbone of our city. CPA funds will also bring new parks and urban farms to the areas that have had less access to green space and will help preserve historic gems across the city. I want to thank Mayor Walsh and Chief Sheila Dillon for your support. You have embraced our committee's work, encouraged transparency, and given us your confidence. Mayor Walsh, from the beginning of the campaign to pass CPA, your leadership helped Boston voters recognize the importance of this new fund, especially for affordable housing, so thank you. You have encouraged a process that truly engages residents and neighborhoods and the committee and gives them a seat at the table. And gave me a seat at the table in the Community Preservation Committee, so I'm very grateful for that. Last, a huge thanks to all of you who voted for the Community Preservation Act. A huge shout out to MAHA, GBIO, and all the other organizations that worked really, really hard to get CPA to be passed. Thank you. And just thank you for everyone that's trying to make Boston a better place. I'm happy to have my mother here. I thank you for watching my son when I went to committee meetings. And my husband wishes that he could be here today. He's working at the Blackstone. He's a teacher. And I just want to thank God as well for allowing me to have this opportunity to be on this committee. And thank you all for the hard work that you're doing for the city. Thank you.
All right. We're going to bring this home very quickly, but there's one more speaker who I'd like to invite up, Mr. Jerome Williams, because it's important that I think we always hear from people that are benefiting from our programs and our hard work. So, Mr. Williams, if you could say a few brief remarks, and then we'll get on to the awards. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, I'm Jerome. Good morning. This is an exciting day for Boston, and for people like me, I want to thank Mayor Walsh for his enormous commitment to funding for more affordable housing across Boston. I also want to thank all the partners and elected officials here today for their commitment to creating affordable housing in Boston. This new funding will help people who are the most in need, which was me. I used to be there. It's because of the kind of funding you are talking about today that allows people like me to have a safe place to call home. I am. Amen. Right now, I live in Two Life community. Amen. I'll never leave there. Wonderful place. I work at a church.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right.
Thank you, God. I have so much fun there. I love it. Anyway, it's for people like I used to be. The unfortunate. I've had a few strokes. I got a brain aneurysm. But I'm all right today. I thank you, God. Have a nice day. All right? Thank you, man.
That was beautiful. You don't believe me. I feel you.
Thank you, and thank you, Two Life, for the work that you do. So, we're here. Yes. So Jessica Boatwright, our Deputy Director of the Neighborhood Housing D&D Division, is going to read the awardees. I think we're going to have people come up and stay up, and then we'll take a group picture. Before we do that, though, I do want to thank Jessica and her team, and certainly Christine O'Keefe, who's back there smiling. This was the amount of applications, the amount of reading, the amount of process, the amount of underwriting really was amazing this year. And I think we did a fabulous job. We were real stewards of your money. So I just want to thank the team at the city. Thank you. So I'm going to hand this over to Jessica.
All right, so we have to bring this home by celebrating everyone, but also getting 18 projects up here with an award and then in a picture. So I'm going to talk about each project briefly. First, before we start calling up the development projects, I do want to mention the Community Preservation Committee awarded 2 city-run programs as part of their awards this year, or they've recommended that to City Council. So the 2 recommendations as part of the Community Preservation Commission are the Acquisition Opportunity Program, which we use to buy naturally occurring affordable housing units on the private market and income restrict them. And then the One Plus Boston program, which is run out of the Boston Home Center, which helps income-eligible first-time home buyers receive down payment assistance and permanent reductions in their interest rates on their mortgages to buy homes in Boston. And we do want to appreciate the One Plus Boston program is run out of the Boston Home Center, but really is possible through the hard work and partnership that they've had with MAHA, GBIO, the MHP Fund, and a lot of Boston banks, some of which are in the room today. So want to just recognize all of those partners. Yeah. All right, so we are awarding the projects alphabetically by neighborhood. That is how you are in order. There's no ranking. We're so excited about every single one. So first, J.J. Carroll Apartments is the redevelopment. It's a redevelopment of a Boston Housing Authority property in Brighton. It'll provide 144 senior supportive housing units by 2 Life Communities. So come on up. So yeah. Oh, all right. Can we also have MAHA and MHP Fund come up so that you can stand as part of our partners and awardees? All right. Yeah. All right. In Chinatown, parcel 12C, Asian Community Development Corporation will be developing 85 affordable rental units as part of a large housing and many-purpose commercial and public service building in Chinatown. In Dorchester, 9 Leland Street will provide 43 affordable senior housing units developed by Dorchester Bay Economic Development Corporation. Okay. All right.
Couldn't find you.
Oh, great. All right. In East Boston, the Aileron is a mixed rental and homeownership development. This year, we're funding 24 rental units by neighborhood of affordable housing. In Hyde Park, we have 2 projects. The first is the Barton Rogers Middle School, which is an adaptive reuse of an old middle school that will provide 74 LGBTQ-friendly senior housing units developed by... So the folks from Penrose and LGBTQ Senior Housing, Inc. are headed up. And also 23 to 25 Roseberry Road will be 2 new affordable home ownership units, Norfolk Design and Construction. We also have 2 projects in Jamaica Plain. The first, which if we look out the back window, we can see the site for. 1599 Columbus Avenue will be 65 affordable rental units that Urban Edge will develop.
Washington Street?
Yeah. In 3368 Washington Street will be 202 units, the largest affordable permanent supportive housing building in the city. Pine Street Inn and the Community Builders. So it's getting crowded up here, but let's keep it going. In Lower Roxbury, Newcastle Saranac Apartments is the preservation of 97 units with expiring affordability, Fenway Community Development Corporation, and Shockett Companies.
Which one was that? 150 River? It's not here. All right. It's not here. All right, go over there and I'll give it this. Oh, here it is. Okay.
In Mattapan, 150 River Street, 30 units of affordable senior housing being developed by a partnership between the Planning Office of Urban Affairs and Caribbean Integration Community Development. In Roslindale, 4 Oaks, 22 units of affordable supportive housing for youth aging out of the foster care system, the Home for Little Wanderers, and Alinea Capital Partners. And now we have 6 projects in Roxbury. So the first one is 2147 Washington Street. It's 74 mixed-use rental and ownership units developed by Dream Development and New Atlantic Development. '75 to 81 Dudley Street will provide 20 income-restricted homeownership units being developed by Madison Park Development Corporation. '40 to 50 Warren Street will be 25 affordable units developed by New Urban Collaborative. Three more in Roxbury. The next is Fountain Hill, which is 24 affordable homeownership units will be funding developed by Oxbow Urban. Dudley Crossing is 47 units in a combined preservation and new construction project developed by Nuestra Comunidad. .273 to 287 Highland Street is 23 mixed income rental units developed by Reese Larkin. And then our final project, so everybody stay here for a photo. Yeah, great. Is Residences off Baker in West Roxbury. It'll be 45 new affordable rental units. It is developed by B'nai B'rith Housing. All right, so now we can do like one big round of applause.